What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for another recap of what went down on this week's episode of Teen Mom 2. Last week, we found out that Jade passed her exam and became a licensed cosmetologist, so her mom decided to celebrate her. So she brought her daughter Chloe and had her hand Jade like a congratulations balloon, like I'm so proud of you, and a card, which I thought was super sweet. But the conversation very quickly took a turn for the worst. So first of all, her mother wasn't even making direct eye contact with Jade. She started like looking over to the corner as she was talking to Jade, like obviously to get Jade riled up so that she could ask her about it, so that in turn, her mom could ask her to move into her home, because as usual, she has fallen on hard financial times. So Jade's mom and her boyfriend, husband, whatever, have had a history of substance abuse. And so in my opinion, it seems as though that is where the money is still going to this day. So I am quite nervous about the fact that Jade has her constantly watching her daughter. It just breaks my heart to watch Jade's very proud moment about succeeding and like being able to provide more for her daughter turn into Jade having to provide for her mother as well. You know, it really shouldn't be this way. So it's sad to see it turn out like that. Meanwhile, in West Virginia, Leah and Victoria are planning their trip to go to Costa Rica to visit Victoria's baby daddy. He can't enter the United States before the child is born because they're still working on his visa process. Leah is his sponsor, which means she's spending thousands of dollars on attorneys to get this man to the United States, you know, just for her sister. As a reminder, her sister Victoria barely even knows this man. Like, they got knocked up on a one-night stand when they were on vacation in Costa Rica. So the fact that Leah will potentially, like, listen, she already spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer to get this guy to US. You know what I mean? But on top of that, she is about to become responsible for him for 10 years, you know, if that even succeeds. So the fact that she is doing all of that for a guy that none of these people really know, who barely speaks English, and she and her sister don't at all speak Spanish, is, you know, really heartbreaking for me. Like, you know, Leah is a very wonderful, very supportive sister, but in my opinion, this just ain't it, especially when you consider the fact that this is not the first foreigner that this man knocked up. In my opinion, he's got very ulterior motives. All right, we have to give it up to Briana for going into Planned Parenthood on the show. I feel like all the girls should be forced to do that when they admit to sleeping around unprotected, because, you know, it's a very important message to send to people. Like, the fact that these people are raw dogging it with random people should not be taken lightly. Like, each time it should be a teachable moment. Like, hey, here I am being reckless with my help. Now I need to take a little bit of responsibility and do the right thing for myself and for my past partner and my future partners and get myself tested. I think it's very, very important that they do that. So I am proud of her for answering all those questions on camera. She was very visibly uncomfortable, but I'm sure it helped a lot of people, like, you know, see the process and, you know, realize, hey, like, these people are here to help me. I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be shamed for what it is I do, blah, blah, blah. Great for her. Now, I do have to say, though, on the negative side, that I'm really grossed out by how flippant she is about the fact that she plays Russian roulette with her health by not regularly using condoms. You know, the woman had asked her, like, answer this question. I use condoms all of the times, some of the times, or never. And she said some of the times, and I about gagged. Meanwhile, in North Dakota, I found Chelsea's conversation with Cole really nice about her going to therapy and reading a book about the love languages of children. She said that, you know, after reading it, she started realizing that her daughter Aubrey's love language is quality time. And so she wanted to start doing more quality time centric activities with her. And I was like, you know what? That is a really cool plug. I feel like I'll probably get my sister that book, you know, for my nephew, and maybe we'll just hang on to it for the future as well. I love that idea. Okay, quick sidebar. Did Chelsea look a little dazed or high to anybody else in this scene? Because to me, her eyes were hanging real low and they were super glossy. You know, I'm not trying to claim anything, but I'm just saying between episode 1 and this episode, something seems a little bit off. Meanwhile, in Dover, Jo apparently texted Kail some really horrible things while she was at her grandmother's funeral. And it was all because she had a friend watching Isaac, which is not new for Kail. Kail has had a revolving door of friends and lovers babysitting her children for years. So why Jo would flip out all of a sudden, you know, to me kind of points to the fact that Isaac wants to spend more time at Kail's house than his house currently. And so he is feeling really insecure about that and looking to kind of belittle her or knock her down a peg as a result of it. He tells Kail, listen, I only ever leave Isaac with blood relatives, which is a really low blow because listen, Joe, you knew when you knocked up this girl that she had no relatives. So of course, she doesn't have that same ability that you have. So, why even bring that up at this point? And then Kail read a text message from him where he apologized for his outburst. But you know what? The apology was very shady and dry as well. He was talking about, I apologize, but it's these trust issues that have been festering for years. And she was like, what trust issues? To which, I agree with her on. What is this guy talking about? It's been a decade since they dated, so I don't think it's anything relationship based. Kail had the same inkling I did when she said, listen, I think that all of this is coming from his insecurity around the fact that Isaac wants to spend more time at my place. So Leah and Victoria are in Costa Rica, and Leah decides to sit down with baby daddy Royer to talk about the visa process and the baby. And, she seems very excited about this cluster, FUCK, and I just gotta say I love how supportive she is, but this thing is a mess, baby. I just don't know what to say. This guy hardly even understands anything she's saying. All he could do is smile like this. Yeah, not knowing what it is that he is even agreeing to. Back somewhere, I don't know what state she was in at the time, but Kail was shooting a podcast when Joe texted her asking that she goes to therapy with him when they are back in Dover. And I thought that was very big of him. And I really liked that she was open to going as well. Boomeranging back to Costa Rica again, Leah and Victoria meet Royer's mom, who's crying hardcore tears of joy. I don't know if she was excited about having another grandchild or excited about the fact that this visa may pay off for her son with the second dumb foreigner that he's impregnated. Meanwhile, in Florida, Brianna invited Luis to come to Nova's gymnastics competition so that he can spend the time with Stella as well. To me, I felt listen, this is an opportunity for Brianna to try and get in his pants again. It seems like this has been her MO. If you remember my recaps from episodes 1 and 2, she keeps initiating these physical things. So the competition was only about an hour away, but for some reason, her and her family stayed in a hotel. And of course, Luis stayed in a hotel with them, which is something, I'm sure she was planning for. And of course, they bang again. I was really racking my brain trying to understand the logistics because they're talking about how Luis was very helpful with Stella throughout the night. And then they're also talking about how they banged that night. So I'm like, okay, one hotel room, 2 adults, a baby. Maybe it's a hotel room with 2 beds, okay? But I'm sure that these people have more sense than to bang in a bed next to a 3-year-old, right? The 3-year-old could wake up. This could be very weird. They wouldn't do that, would they? Did they go in the shower? Did they do it on the bathroom floor? Did they do it on the kitchen counter? I was really trying to understand it. But then Miss Thang runs to the car because, I feel so uncomfortable around Luis. It's so awkward. This woman is really immature. And she calls up Shirley and tells her, she confirms my fear that they were banging in one bed while Stella slept in the other. And I was just, is this normal? Is this a thing people do? She was just so casual about it. So am I wrong to be outraged by this? Really? They were banging in one bed while their child was sleeping in the other. The child could have woken up at any time. And here you... Really? I really don't know. And then she says that yet again, they did not use protection. I don't understand why she wants this guy so bad. He must be amazing in bed because I cannot see any other reason. He cheated on her, first of all, okay? He doesn't seem to care about his daughter whatsoever. So what is her draw to him? Why does she keep sleeping with him? Why does she keep jeopardizing her health for him by sleeping with him unprotected on top of that? It's just so weird, and it, like I said in episode 2, where she's asking him on the date about Stella, it's the date, but she pretended it was about Stella. She's sitting there. She's like, so are you happy we slept together? Do you think we'll do it again? It's her who keeps initiating it. She's the one who even initiated the first time, at the club. She gets a little bit tipsy and then she goes, so where you live at? Where you live at? And here we go. Boo Boo the Fool literally undid her entire campaign for safe sex, right? Like she was like, oh, I'm going to go to Planned Parenthood, show it to everybody, be really responsible about a mistake I made. And I thought she was going to be on the straight and narrow after that, but she literally, no. She's like, oh, well, let me do it again. As if this guy couldn't have slept with God knows how many other people in between those different sessions. Now she has to go get retested again, and who knows what that is going to bring. Now, in the final scene of the episode, Kail and her friend Lindsay interview a psychic for their podcast, and she was spot on about Kail having a fourth boy. She goes, I see a fourth child for you, and I think it's going to be a boy. And Kail was like, no, I really want to have a girl. But the psychic was confident that what she saw for Kail was a fourth boy, which did ultimately wind up being true. I noticed that Kail's neck was very stiff when the psychic first threw out the fourth child thing. And, we know now she was already pregnant at the time. So she was like, crap, this lady is legit. I do have to say, though, that something that was really quite sweet about the psychic was what she told Kail about her mother. She said, listen, your mom, I know she does a lot of things that would have you question her, but deep down in her heart of hearts, despite the mental illness that she suffers from that makes her seem otherwise, despite the addiction that she suffers from that makes her seem otherwise, she is genuinely a good person. She does 1000% love you. And she, the only thing keeping her going in life right now is knowing that you're okay and that you're out there. And so I thought that was a very touching message that Kail probably needed to hear in her life. And so I am very happy that she did end up receiving it. And another interesting thing about that was that Kail's mom actually does end up reaching out to her by the end of the episode, which is something that, she hasn't done for years. This is the first time her mom has reached out to her in years after the psychic, who already correctly predicted her fourth child and it being a boy, talked about how the mom was always thinking of Kail, and Kail was kind of I want to say guiding light, but it's almost ironic with her child being named Creed and Creed being guiding principle, right? Anyway, you guys, that's a recap of what went down on this week's episode of Teen Mom 2. But as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.